Virgo, you are the sign most likely to have been working on yourself quietly, thoroughly, and without announcement, improving, refining, healing the places that needed it, building the inner resources that real change requires. While others have been loud about their transformations, you have been doing the actual work. In the private hours, in the quiet moments between obligations, in the stillness of nights when everyone else was asleep and you were still processing, still examining, still asking yourself the honest questions that lesser attention would have let pass. That work is not invisible, even if no one has witnessed it directly. Even if you yourself have sometimes doubted whether anything was actually shifting, because genuine transformation so rarely announces itself while it is happening. It has been happening in your inner world, and it is now beginning to show its results in the outer one. The ground beneath your life has shifted. The foundation has been rebuilt in ways that matter deeply. A stronger chapter has already begun, not as a future promise, not as something heading toward you from a distance, but as a present reality that is already operating, already showing its first signs in the texture of your daily experience. These 10 signs confirm it. 1. Situations that once sent your mind into overdrive of analysis and worry now simply inform your next clear step. You remember what it was like before. When a difficult situation would arrive, an unexpected development, a conflict, a thing that went wrong in the way that things sometimes go wrong, your mind would immediately engage at full capacity. Every scenario would be generated and examined. Every possible outcome would be modeled. Every variable would be considered, reconsidered, held up against every other variable, rotated, compared. This was not something you chose to do. It was simply how your system responded, with the full deployment of its considerable analytical power, regardless of whether the situation genuinely required that level of response. And for a long time, this was simply the price of having a mind like yours. The capability that allowed you to solve real problems with exceptional thoroughness was the same capability that engaged at full volume, even when a lighter touch would have served better. But something has changed in how this process runs. When a challenging situation arrives now, you are noticing something different. Not that the analytical capacity has diminished, it is still there, still fully present. But it engages differently, more proportionately, with a selectivity that was not previously available. Your mind gathers what is relevant, processes it efficiently, and arrives more quickly at the next clear step, without the extended spiral into every contingency and worst-case scenario that used to be the default experience. This is not small. This represents a genuine recalibration of one of the most central features of how you move through your life. The anxiety that used to ride alongside the analysis, the emotional coloring that turned thoughtful consideration into something more like worry, has loosened its grip. And what is left without that anxiety is what your analytical mind was always capable of at its cleanest. Clear, efficient, purposeful thinking that moves toward action rather than remaining in the loop of continued examination. You are beginning to think in the way your intelligence was always designed to think, without the interference of a nervous system that had been running in a state of prolonged alert. That is a significant arrival. 2. You are finding yourself wanting things that are deeper and more genuinely meaningful than what previously satisfied you. There is a shift happening in the nature of your wanting. Not a dramatic one, not something that arrived with a sudden announcement or a clear break from what came before. More like a gradual reorientation. The way a compass slowly settles toward true north when the local magnetic interference has been removed. Things that once felt satisfying or at least sufficient are beginning to feel thin. Not bad, not wrong, just thin, like they belong to an earlier version of your life, one that was working with different resources and different understandings. And in their place, new desires are forming. Or perhaps they are not entirely new. Perhaps they are older desires, truer ones, that had been pushed to the background by the noise and demands of a life that was asking you to be practical, to be available, to be useful and efficient and reliable before being honest about your own deeper longings. Those deeper longings are surfacing now, and they have a different quality than the wants that have driven much of your recent life. They are less reactive and more considered, less about managing or fixing or achieving and more about genuinely inhabiting. Less about doing things correctly and more about doing things that feel real to you, real to the values that live at the center of who you are, real to the particular way that you specifically want to experience the time you have. This shift in the nature of wanting is one of the clearest signs that something in you has genuinely upgraded. Because the quality of what we want is a direct reflection of the quality of our inner development. When we are in survival mode, we want safety. When we are in performing mode, we want approval. And when we begin arriving at something truer and more spacious, when we begin operating from a more deeply established inner ground, what we want changes. It becomes more authentic, more particular, more genuinely ours. You are beginning to want your actual life. Not the safe version of it, not the approved version of it, your actual life. That is a profound and irreversible arrival. 3. Your tolerance for anything that is not genuine in others and in yourself has reached a quiet, firm limit. This one has happened gradually enough that you may not have noticed it clearly as a single shift. But looking back over the recent period, you can see that something has quietly changed in what you are willing to accept. Not changed dramatically, not in a way that has made you harsh or dismissive or suddenly intolerant of normal human imperfection, but changed in the specific area of genuineness, of authenticity, of the match between what is presented and what is actually real. You used to be able to tolerate more of the performance, the carefully managed versions of situations and people and even your own inner experience. Not because you preferred it, but because navigating the gap between performance and reality was something you had learned to do efficiently, and it did not cost you as much as pushing for the genuine thing. But your capacity for that navigation has reached its limit. And the limit does not feel angry or defensive, it feels clear. It feels like a quiet inner voice that simply says with calm finality, no more. When a conversation is not genuine, you feel it immediately, and you no longer have the interest or the energy to pretend otherwise. When a situation is being managed rather than honestly engaged, something in you withdraws, not with drama, but with the quiet decisiveness of a person who has simply finished with that particular kind of thing. And what is significant is that this applies to yourself as much as to others. The places where you have been performing for your own internal audience, where you have been telling yourself that things are fine when they are not, that you are managing when you are depleted, that a situation is acceptable when your inner standard clearly registers otherwise, those places are becoming harder to maintain. The honest version is pressing through. This is not a problem. It is a profound sign of inner development. The more deeply rooted you become in your own genuine experience, the less room there is for anything that does not match it. 4. You are allowing yourself to rest without the background noise of guilt and self-judgment for the first time in a long time. Rest for Virgo is not simple. You know this. It has never been simple. Even in moments of physical stillness, your mind has historically continued its work, running through what still needed attention, evaluating what had been done, planning what was coming, maintaining the hum of engagement with the ongoing demands of your own high standards. True rest, the kind that actually allows restoration, that permits the nervous system to genuinely come down from its state of maintained readiness, has required something that your self-critical mind has not always been willing to provide: permission. The specific permission to simply exist without producing, to be present in a moment without optimizing it, to lie still without generating the quiet internal commentary about what else could or should be happening instead. The guilt that has historically accompanied rest for you is not irrational. It comes from a deeply felt sense that there is always something that deserves your attention, and that choosing not to give that attention is a form of negligence. It comes from standards you hold for yourself that do not include provisions for genuine restoration. It comes from a relationship with your own worth that has been, for a long time, more tightly connected to output than it ought to be. But something is changing in this. You are beginning to notice moments of genuine rest that do not come immediately loaded with the background noise. Moments where you stop, and the mind does not immediately engage its catalog of unfinished things. Where something in you simply settles into the quiet, into the present, into the experience of just being here, in this moment without agenda. These moments may be brief. They may not yet be consistent. But they are real, and they are new, and they are a sign that something in your relationship with yourself has genuinely shifted. You are beginning to extend to yourself the care and patience that you have long extended to others. That is a significant and tender arrival. 5. A confidence is rising in you that does not need to justify itself or present its credentials. It simply exists. There is a particular kind of confidence that you may have experienced before, the kind that rests on evidence. The kind that says, I am confident about this because I have demonstrated competence here, because I have succeeded at this specific thing before, because the record of what I have accomplished provides a foundation for believing I can accomplish more. This is a real form of confidence, and it has served you well. Your high standards and thorough preparation have consistently produced results that gave you legitimate reason to trust yourself in specific areas of your competence. But there is another kind of confidence, one that is less conditional, less tied to the record, less dependent on external confirmation of worthiness. A confidence that exists not because of what you have done but because of who you are. That does not present its evidence when it enters a room because it does not need to. That does not require the approval of external judgment to remain stable. This second kind of confidence is rarer, and it is harder to build because it requires a different foundation than accomplishment. It requires a settled relationship with yourself that is not disturbed by the presence of uncertainty, by imperfect outcomes, by areas where you are still in progress. And this is the confidence that is rising in you now. You may notice it in the quality of how you enter spaces, how you speak, how you respond to challenges that would previously have triggered the immediate engagement of self-defense or self-justification. Something in you has become more settled, more grounded. You do not feel the same pull to explain yourself, to prove your value, to demonstrate that you belong wherever you are. You are simply there. And there is a quiet sureness in that presence that does not require external confirmation to remain intact. This is one of the most significant signs that a stronger chapter has genuinely begun. This confidence cannot be performed into existence, can only be grown. If this message is resonating with your sign right now, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support, whether as a subscriber or as a member of this community, is what keeps these messages alive. The ones that touch hearts, awaken minds, and transform lives. If this video has been making sense to you, drop in the comments the day you were born. Let us keep going. 6. Old wounds that have shaped your patterns for years are beginning to lose their operational power over your daily choices. Every person carries wounds from their history, experiences, usually from long enough ago that they have been incorporated into the background architecture of daily life, that shape the way the person moves through the world, what they avoid, what they seek, where they place their trust, how close they allow people to come. For Virgo, these wounds often manifest as patterns of hypervigilance. The constant checking for what might go wrong. The difficulty receiving help without immediately calculating whether it comes with a cost. The tendency to expect disappointment in specific contexts because disappointment has arrived from those contexts before. The emotional caution that masquerades as reasonable self-protection. These patterns were formed in response to real experiences. They are not irrational. They were, at the time of their formation, exactly the appropriate adaptation to circumstances that required them. But they have been operating in you for years past the circumstances that created them. And something that was once a useful adaptation becomes, over time, a limitation, a lens through which all present experience is filtered through the distortion of past pain, causing you to respond to the present as though it were the past, to protect yourself against wounds that are no longer being actively inflicted. Something is shifting in this for you now. You are beginning to notice, in specific situations and moments, that the old pattern engages and then something else happens, something newer, something more present, something that looks at the current moment with current eyes and recognizes that the conditions that formed the old pattern are not actually operating here. This recognition does not always arrive loudly. It often comes as a quiet internal pause, a moment where you would have previously contracted and you instead remain open, where you would have retreated and you instead stay present. These moments are signs of healing at a level deep enough to actually change behavior. The wounds are not gone, but their operational power is loosening. And that loosening is one of the most real and lasting forms of progress available to any human being. 7. The right people are arriving in your life without effort, drawn to the clarity and genuine depth you are embodying. You have always had a high standard for the people in your inner circle. Not a harsh standard, not a demanding or critical one, but a genuine one. A standard that values authenticity over performance, substance over spectacle, consistency over charm. A standard that requires at its core that a person be real. And for much of your life, maintaining this standard has meant that your inner circle has remained relatively small. Because real people, genuinely real people, who are honest and present and show up as themselves rather than as a managed version, are not as common as one might hope. So you have waited and held the standard, and sometimes experience the particular loneliness of someone whose discernment makes the world a smaller social landscape than it might be for someone with fewer requirements. But something is shifting in the landscape around you. The right people are beginning to appear, and they are appearing with a quality of alignment that feels different from the ordinary mechanics of social encounter. Not simply people who are pleasant or available or technically compatible, but people who match something essential in you, who meet your depth with their own depth, your honesty with their honesty, your capacity for real connection with a genuine willingness to engage at that level. And the reason they are finding you, the reason the alignment feels cleaner than it has before, is directly related to the inner work you have been doing. When you become clearer, you become more visible to the right things. When you inhabit yourself more genuinely, you emit a signal that is more accurately your own, less complicated by the noise of unresolved patterns or unacknowledged fears. And what that clearer signal is attracting is people who can hear it accurately, people who recognize what you actually are, rather than what you have sometimes performed or protected or managed from a careful distance. The right people are not arriving by accident. They are arriving because you have become more fully yourself. That is a remarkable and beautiful consequence of genuine inner work. 8. Your decisions are coming from your values rather than from your fears, and the difference is becoming increasingly clear to you. There is a distinction that has been becoming more visible to you lately, a distinction that exists in the quality of how you make choices. It is a distinction between two very different internal engines, the engine of values and the engine of fear. Both produce decisions. Both can generate reasons for choosing one thing over another. And from the outside, and sometimes even from the inside, the decisions they produce can look similar enough to be confusing. Fear says, do not do that thing because something bad might happen. Values say, do not do that thing because it is not aligned with who I genuinely am. Fear says, choose this option because it is the safest one. Values say, choose this option because it is the most honest one. The difference in the source does not always change the outcome, but it profoundly changes the internal experience of the choice, and over time it profoundly changes the trajectory of a life. When decisions come from fear, there is always a subtle background cost, a sense of having chosen from a contracted place, of having let something other than your own deepest knowing be the primary driver. When decisions come from values, even when they are difficult decisions, even when they carry real consequences, there is a different quality to the aftermath, a sense of having been true, of having aligned the outer choice with the inner compass regardless of whether the outcome was comfortable. You are beginning to notice this difference from the inside. You are catching the feeling of a fear-based impulse and recognizing it as such, and in that recognition, having just enough space to make a different choice. Not always, not yet in every situation, but more consistently than before. And the growth in that consistency is one of the most meaningful signs that the stronger chapter is real. Because a person who chooses from values is living a genuinely different kind of life than a person who chooses from fear, even when the external circumstances look similar. 9. Challenges arrive and something in you meets them as useful and formative rather than as personal evidence of insufficiency. There was a time, and you know exactly what this felt like, when difficulty arrived and part of your internal response was to immediately begin evaluating what the difficulty meant about you. Not just how to solve it, but what it signified. Whether it was evidence that you had made a wrong choice, developed an inadequate plan, demonstrated insufficient foresight. Your inner critic, which has always had a clear and articulate voice, would engage immediately and begin constructing the case for what the challenge revealed about your failings. This was painful, more painful often than the challenge itself, because the challenge had a practical dimension that your capable mind could address. But the self-judgment had no practical address. It was simply a weight, persistent and grinding, that made the experience of difficulty significantly heavier than it needed to be. Something has changed in how challenges arrive in your experience now. Not that they arrive less frequently, not that they are less genuinely difficult when they do, but the automatic move from challenge to self-indictment has slowed, has become less immediate, and in some cases has not activated at all, replaced by something that is quieter but considerably more useful, an orientation that meets the challenge as information, as something to be worked with rather than something to be judged through, as an experience that will teach something, reveal something, develop something in you that the smooth and unchallenged path would not have produced. This is not resignation. It is not a lowering of standards or an acceptance of failure as a permanent state. It is a different relationship with the natural difficulties of an engaged life, one that sees them as part of the process of genuine development, rather than as interruptions of a perfection that was never actually available to begin with. You are becoming someone who grows through challenge rather than someone who is diminished by it. The difference in how that feels from the inside is significant. 10. For the first time in a long while, you are beginning to genuinely believe, not just intellectually understand, but truly feel that you are enough exactly as you are right now. This is the sign that contains all the others. This is the deep shift that the previous 9 signs have been, in their different ways, pointing toward. Because all of the changes described, the quieter analytical mind, the truer desires, the intolerance for performance, the capacity for rest, the settled confidence, the healing of old wounds, the arrival of aligned people, the values-based choices, the formative relationship with challenge, all of these are expressions in their particular forms of this single underlying shift, a change in your fundamental relationship with your own enoughness. For as long as you can clearly remember, there has been a background condition running in your inner experience, a quiet but persistent sense that you were approaching some standard but had not quite arrived. That there was more to do, more to improve, more to understand, more to become before you could fully settle into yourself without qualification. This sense has driven much of your achievement. It has also extracted a significant cost, the cost of never quite arriving, of always being in process towards something that kept moving as you approached it, of excellence that could not rest long enough to be enjoyed because the next level of the standard was already visible. But something has happened recently. Something quiet, something that did not arrive with announcement or ceremony. A moment or a series of moments, in which the relentless forward lean toward the standard simply softened, in which you were present in your own experience without the simultaneous inner commentary about what you still needed to become, in which you simply were, without it needing to be compared to what you should be. That experience of being enough, actually feeling it in your body, in your chest, in the quality of a single ordinary moment in your ordinary day, is not the same as understanding intellectually that you are valuable. You have understood that for years. This is the felt version. The version that changes how you hold yourself when you walk into a room. The version that changes how you respond when someone criticizes you. The version that changes what you are willing to ask for, willing to offer, willing to believe is possible for your life. This felt knowing that you are enough exactly as you are right now. This is the ground of the stronger chapter. Everything else is built on it. And it is yours. It has been growing in you. And it is real. If this message resonated with your sign, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it always sends exactly the right signal. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support as a subscriber or as a member of this community is what keeps these messages alive. They are the messages that touch, awaken, and transform. If this video made sense to you, leave in the comments the day you were born. And so here we arrive at the place where all 10 signs point. Not a destination in the future, not something still ahead of you waiting to be earned or reached or finally accomplished, but a present reality that is already operating in your life right now. The stronger chapter has not been a reward delivered from the outside for work done well enough. It has been the natural consequence of the inner work you have quietly and consistently undertaken. The willingness to look honestly at what was not working. The patience to heal what needed time. The discernment to distinguish between what was truly yours and what you had absorbed from outside voices that were never fully aligned with your actual nature. The courage, and it has required courage, even though your courage has always been the quiet kind, to keep going through the periods where nothing seemed to be changing, where the effort of inner development was ongoing but the evidence of results was not yet visible. You have been building something real. And what you have built is not a performance, not a presentation, not a version of yourself designed to satisfy some external standard. It is something truer and more durable than any of those things. It is a deeper relationship with your own actual self. The self that exists underneath the analysis and the perfectionism and the careful management of how you are perceived. The self that was always there, always genuine, always capable, always worthy of the care and consideration you have extended so freely to everyone else. That self is now more available to you than it has ever been. It is showing up in the 10 signs described here. It is showing up in the subtle shifts in how you experience your days, the moments of unexpected ease, the surprising lightness, the quiet sense that something has settled. Honor what you have built, Virgo. You did not do it loudly, And you will not be celebrated for it by anyone who did not see the work. But the results are real, and the life they are making possible is genuine, and it is yours. Step into it without apology. You have already arrived.